What's happening, guys? It is Tuesday, following the games from week 4. I'm in proper attire here to teach today because I get to play some Ultimate Frisbee, rocking the Van Persie Dutch jersey. If you ain't Dutch, you ain't much. I get paid to play Ultimate Frisbee. It's awesome. But I'm here with the week 4 recap, and what a week it was. So let's start with a Kia Sorrento matchup of the week. I feel justified in calling this the matchup of the week. I think this is 3 or 4 weeks that I've nailed the lowest combined score. But I got organized. Well, I picked Organized Chaos over the Fist Pumpers, and this was true. I said that bye weeks were going to kill Andy. That was true. His replacements of Sean Green, Brandon Myers, and Akeem Nicks combined for 4 points. I'm sure that Demarius, Monty, and AJ would have each put up more than that. So it did hurt Durs this week. He does drop to 3-1, and Justin jumps up to 3-1 as well. I think I'm going to talk later in the week about, scheduling quirks. This doesn't mean that your 3-1 doesn't count. You just got lucky, Justin. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Organized Chaos won despite failing to score 100 points. Scored 77 points less than Chris, who remains winless. And despite a small total, Chaos was heavily dependent on the touchdown this week. Only Arian Foster put up double figures without scoring a touchdown. All the other guys that put up double digits did have a touchdown. Organized Chaos or the Fisters. This is the first Stone Cold Lead Pipe lock of the week that I've gotten wrong. Jibo over Fibo. I called Fibo over Jibo, but it's Jibo over Fibo. I said that Megatron might outscore all of Ivan's wide receivers combined if he played. Well, he played, but he was a decoy. The coaching staff even admitted so afterwards, and he only finished, I think, with 2 receptions and 13 yards or something like that. So not a good week for Megatron. This game did come down to Monday Night Football. Travis Kelce was huge last night, dropping over 20 points. I think he had the 3rd highest total out of tight ends. Frank Gore with a throwback performance, over 20 points. Both of these teams now sit at 1-3. No real threat to the playoffs at this point, I don't think. Maybe one of them can go on a run. I still like Ferguson's team a little bit better than Ivan's, even though I've got Ferguson last in the power rankings. So my formula has Ferguson last in the power rankings. Don't get upset with me if I put your rankings low. It's all based on the formula. Next, Dash over Borkham's Ballbusters. I called this. I questioned Borkham's decision to play Cousins over Breeze. That was a bad decision. I think that cost him 13 points. Not that it would have mattered this matchup. But bye weeks, I did say we're going to hurt Borkham's. His 3 running backs combined for 10 points. Rashad Jennings, a poor performance this week, to say the least, especially by his lofty standards that he set the first 3 weeks. EJ Manuel did put up a decent stat line in the loss, at least in terms of fantasy. I think he was 21 for 44, but 220-some yards, 2 touchdowns, and only 2 interceptions. But that pick 6, that was a killer for Buffalo. And because of that, they are replacing Manuel. He was running for his life, but how that impacts our league, Mike is awfully thin at quarterback now. Russell does have his bye week done, but if he gets injured, RG3 and EJ Manuel, do you have a thing for black quarterbacks? They're both injured or they're out. They've been replaced. So you better hope that Russell Hustle and Muscle Man Muscle Wilson does not get injured. I picked myself over Cecil Seashorts, and this came down to Monday night as well. There was a ton of points scored here. 2 of the top 3 scores in the league to date. And Jamal Charles came through for me also on Monday night. 3 touchdowns, huge performance, looked fantastic. I was worried that he might not play. Niall Davis still put up some points as well. Yeah, Charles was not scratched. He did play, and he was huge. I undersold Luck. I said I would gladly take another 370 yards and 4 touchdowns, but he did me better than that. 393 yards and 4 touchdowns. My ex-running backs did not come back to haunt me. Bradshaw and Sproles only combined for 17 total points, which is less than the 25 that Terrence Williams put up for me. And I didn't even play Justin Hunter, so it only cost me one roster spot. So I think that if we did not do that trade, I'm pretty sure Chris almost for sure beats me because he's probably playing Trent Richardson, who did a lot better than either one of those running backs, and then he has Terrence Williams. So I'm not saying that was a bad trade for Chris, but it worked out for me. Right now, Chris has the 3rd most points in the league, but he also has the most points against, and he's lost some close matchups, and he's still winless. But he's pretty up high in my power rankings, and that's what matters. So there was Jaquiz over Masonites, 1-point victory. So Rob, you continue to prove me wrong. You are 4-0, the only undefeated team in the league. Still second to me in the power rankings, though. This one also came down to Monday Night Football. Rob entered the game with a 1-point lead, and he left the game with a 1-point lead because the Patriots, including Gostkowski, including Stephen Ridley, suck. They each only put up 2 points, so a 1-point victory going in equaled a 1-point victory coming out. Yeah, Patriots just look terrible right now. Larry Donnell, good for Rob's team, bad for Rob's real NFL team. 3 touchdowns on Thursday night, so Doug was already fighting an uphill battle from that. Kickers, I already mentioned Gostkowski, but terrible on both fronts. Eagles did not look good either. Maybe the NFC East is the Cowboys' division to lose now? Wow. Only 5 total points between the 2 kickers. Doug did leave Randy Bullock on his bench, who did have 19 points. Now, kickers are very, very hit or miss. No pun intended. So I'm not blaming Doug for playing Parkey over Bullock, but he could have won. And Doug's team was very, very top heavy in this matchup. Almost 2/3 of his total production, I think it was 81 out of the 129 points, came from 3 players: Tony Romo, Jordy Nelson, and Reggie Wayne, combined for at least 80 points. And then finally, the matchup of the week, the Nuts over the Rampage. I said that Rampage had a pretty good shot of winning this, and were a pretty big favorite, but the Nuts came to play, putting up the 2nd highest point total in the league so far this year. This is a lot of big points, as long as you don't look at the Fisters Chaos matchup. I gave the edge to the Nuts in terms of quarterback, but that was really close. Jacksonville's defense came through for Phillip Rivers. I gave a huge edge to the Rampage for the running backs, but LaShawn McCoy and Eddie Lacy, capital S, capital U, capital C, capital K, suck. Now, hopefully they don't use this as bulletin board material, because I do have them this week. So Brian actually came out ahead in this matchup when I thought it was going to be a landslide victory for Reitzma. Wide receivers, I did call it a draw. I said that these 2 teams had the 2nd and 3rd best wide receiving core in the leagues. But Nuts, this is where he probably won the matchup. His wide receivers outscored Reitzma's 88-65. Granted, Brian had 1 more wide receiver playing than Reitzma did, but some big games out of some of Brat's wide receivers. Actually from both teams, 30 plus for both Randall, don't call me Reggie Cobb, from the Nuts, and Antonio Brown from the Rampage. More on Brown here shortly. Tight ends, I gave a huge advantage to Reitzma again. Arguably the top 2 tight ends, depending on how you feel about Julius Thomas. I called Heath Miller the worst starting tight end in the league, and he proceeded to drop 24 points, which was better than Graham, which was better than Gronkowski. So all in all, brought with a big victory. I continue to think that our division is the best. All three of us have more than 500 points for us. No other division can say that. Yeah, so I was 3-3 on the week again. This is the third time out of 4 weeks that I finished exactly 3-3. I cannot get a handle on this particular league this year, at least when it comes to my picks. Now, in terms of actually putting together a good team, I'm going to talk a little bit about surprises and busts. I'm going to give my team the surprise of the year. We're at the quarter pole, a quarter of the way through our 16-game season, about a third through our regular season. I'm going to give myself the surprise team in the good, positive direction. I was projected to finish last in my division. It was a very, very good division. But right now, I've got the most points in the league by quite a bit, actually. My team's looking solid. Andrew Luck, more on him here shortly, too, is looking fantastic. And then on the other side, the bust of the year so far, I got to give to the Fear Boners. I expected them to make the playoffs pretty comfortably, and they just lost to the new guy. Not a good year so far. So he gets my worst, not just the worst team, but compared to where I expected them to be. And then for all 4 of our positions, not kickers, no one cares about kickers, quickly want to give an MVP, the surprise player, and an LVP, the least valuable player. I'm actually going to start with the least valuable player. We'll start with tight ends. Jordan Cameron. Maybe this is the league curse. All NFL players that show up on the league, the TV show, they do poorly. He only has 3 receptions through 3 games. He did miss 1 game in there, but he's been pretty terrible. Least valuable player among running backs. A week ago, I could have just said consensus first round running backs for redraft leagues, those boring redraft leagues. AP still in contention. He's not doing anything for you, Brat. Lacey, LaShawn McCoy, Matt Forte, Jamal Charles. Now I'm going to take Forte and Charles off the list because they had pretty good weeks. But the rest of those guys, I'm going to give, if I have to give it to one person, I'm giving it to McCoy slightly over Lacey. For wide receivers, the LVP, I'm giving to Larry Fitzgerald.